Hi, Lee. I know this isn't a near-death experience, but I felt the need to get some things off my chest. I've been listening to your channel for about 2 years now, and it's been a steady source of encouragement and reflection. I wanted to share my journey, how I went from being an atheist to becoming a believer in God. Maybe it's something you'd find worth reading, or even narrating. You have my full permission to share this story if you feel it could help or inspire someone else. I still remember the exact moment I decided God wasn't real. I was 15, sitting in Sunday school while Mrs. Henderson droned on about Noah's Ark. The flannel board figures looked ridiculous, all those animals crammed onto a wooden boat. I raised my hand. "How did the kangaroos get from Australia to the Middle East?" I asked. She just smiled that patronizing smile and said, "We have to have faith, dear." Faith. What a cop-out. By the time I hit college, I was a full-blown militant atheist. You know the type. Richard Dawkins was my prophet. The God delusion was my Bible. I wore my atheism like armor, picked fights in philosophy class, started a Skeptics Society on campus. My Facebook bio literally said, "Recovering from religion." Man, I was insufferable. But I was also hurting. See, what I didn't tell anyone was that my crusade against God wasn't really about intellectual honesty. It was about anger. When I was 12, my little sister Emma died of leukemia. 7 years old. 7. I prayed every single night for God to save her. Begged, pleaded, made deals I couldn't keep. And you know what I got back? Silence. Just the steady beep of hospital monitors and my mom's muffled sobs in the bathroom. So yeah, I had an axe to grind with the Almighty. College was perfect for someone like me. I surrounded myself with other angry intellectuals. We'd stay up until 4 in the morning, drunk on cheap beer and our own cleverness, deconstructing Christianity like it was a faulty engine. I dated a girl named Sarah, who was even more atheist than me, if that was possible. We'd mock the campus ministry kids walking to their Bible studies. Sheep, we'd say, feeling so damn superior. Then junior year happened. October 15th, 2019. Tuesday. Dad called during my modern philosophy lecture. I almost didn't answer. We weren't close. Hadn't been since Emma. "It's cancer," he said. Just like that. No preamble. Pancreatic. Stage 4. I hung up on him. Actually, hung up. Sat there in the back of the lecture hall while Professor Miller talked about Nietzsche's God is dead thing, and all I could think was, well, if God's dead, who the hell do I blame for this? The next few months were a blur of hospital visits, chemo appointments, and watching my father, this mountain of a man who'd built our deck with his bare hands, shrink into someone I didn't recognize. His skin turned yellow. His eyes sank into his skull. He couldn't even pretend to be strong anymore. One night, maybe 2 in the morning, I was alone with him in the hospital. He was sleeping, or maybe just pretending to sleep. With all the morphine, it was hard to tell. I broke down, like ugly crying, snot everywhere, the whole 9 yards. And for the first time since Emma died, I found myself talking to the ceiling. "You're cruel," I whispered. "You took Emma. You're taking Dad. What kind of sick joke is this? If you're real, if you're really up there, then I hate you." The silence that followed felt different somehow. Expectant, like when someone's waiting for you to finish your tantrum before they respond. Dad woke up, or stopped pretending to sleep. He looked at me with those sunken eyes and smiled. "You praying, kiddo?" "No," I lied, wiping my face on my sleeve. "It's okay," he said. "I've been praying for you." That broke something in me. This man, dying in agony, was praying for me. I wanted to be angry about it, but I couldn't. I just felt empty and tired. So incredibly tired. I started visiting the hospital chapel after that. Don't ask me why. It was quiet, I guess. Nobody bothered you there. I'd sit in the back row, staring at the cross on the wall, having these one-sided conversations with whoever might be listening. "I don't believe in you," I'd start. But if you're real, you're doing a terrible job. Emma was 7. 7. Dad never hurt anybody. Mom hasn't smiled, really smiled, since Emma died. So what's your deal? You just like watching us suffer? 2 weeks before Dad died, a chaplain sat down next to me. Young guy, maybe 30, sleeve tattoos peeking out from under his clerical collar. Not what I expected. You look angry, he said. Great observation, Sherlock. He laughed. Actually laughed. I'm Mark. Used to be an atheist myself. Let me guess, I said. Then you found Jesus, and now everything's sunshine and rainbows? Nah, he said. Then my daughter died. Stillborn. 8 months. That shut me up. We talked for 3 hours. Not about God, not at first. About grief. About anger. About how messed up it is that kids die and parents have to watch. He didn't try to convert me. Didn't drop any Bible verses. Just listened. When I finally asked him how he could still believe after losing his daughter, he said something I'll never forget. Because the alternative is that her death meant nothing. That all of this, he gestured around the chapel, means nothing. And I can't live in a world that meaningless. Dad died on a Thursday morning. I was holding his hand. Mom was singing Amazing Grace, his favorite hymn. I wanted to tell her to stop, that it was pointless, but I couldn't, because watching her sing to him, watching the peace on his face, despite the pain, there was something there, something I couldn't explain away. The funeral was packed. All these people I'd never met, telling stories about my dad, how he'd fixed their roof for free after a storm, how he'd taught their kid to ride a bike, how he'd sat with them in this very hospital when their own family members were dying. My dad, the man I'd been so angry with for finding religion after Emma died, had been quietly living out his faith while I'd been loud about my lack of it. That night, back in my childhood bedroom, I finally broke. Really broke. 21 years of anger and hurt and questions just poured out. I cried until I couldn't breathe, punched my pillow, threw my old baseball trophies across the room, and then, exhausted, I did the thing I swore I'd never do again. I prayed. Not a nice prayer. Not a Dear Heavenly Father prayer. More like a, okay, you win. Are you happy now prayer. I told God exactly what I thought of him, called him every name I could think of, accused him of being a cosmic bully. And then, I still can't explain this, I felt held, like someone had wrapped me in the world's warmest blanket. The room didn't light up, no booming voice from heaven, just this overwhelming sense that I'd been heard, really heard, and somehow, inexplicably, loved. The next morning, I dug out the Bible my grandmother had given me for confirmation, started with the Psalms, because someone told me David was angry at God a lot too. Turns out, the dude was pissed, like regularly, and God seemed okay with that. I started going to church, not the stuffy one from my childhood, but this little place near campus where the pastor admitted he didn't have all the answers. I sat in the back, arms crossed, daring God to convince me. Slowly, and I mean glacially slowly, something shifted. I started seeing the questions differently. Instead of, why did Emma die? It became, what do I do with the fact that she lived? Instead of, where were you when Dad was suffering? It became, were you in the people who showed up? The turning point came 6 months later. I was reading C.S. Lewis, A Grief Observed, not the apologetic stuff, when I hit this line, God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. I threw the book across the room, then picked it up and read it again, and again, because damn it, he was right. I'd been deaf to everything except my own pain. But that pain, it had been shouting something I didn't want to hear, that I'd never stopped believing in God. I'd just been furious with him. You can't be that angry at something you don't believe exists. I got baptized on Emma's birthday, October 22nd. She would have been 15. As I came up out of the water, I pictured her laughing at me. She always said I was stubborn. Mom cried. The ugly kind of crying, like I'd done in Dad's hospital room. But these were different tears. I still don't get it, I told Pastor Mike afterward. Why Emma? Why Dad? Why any of it? Join the club, he said. But here's the thing. You don't have to understand something to believe it's true. I don't understand quantum physics, but my phone still works. That was 3 years ago. I wish I could say everything makes sense now. It doesn't. I still get angry at God sometimes. Still have doubts. Still wonder what the heck he's thinking. But here's what's changed. I'm not alone in those questions anymore. And somehow, that makes all the difference. Last month, I was back in that hospital chapel. Different reason this time. My buddy's mom was having surgery. Found myself in the same back pew where I'd met Mark. A kid about college age was sitting where I used to sit, looking just as angry at the world as I'd been. You look upset, I said, sitting down next to him. He glared at me. What's it to you? I almost laughed, almost told him my story. Instead, I just said, nothing. Just, I've been there. And if you ever want to talk about it, I'm here. He didn't say anything, but he didn't leave either. We sat there in silence for about an hour, him radiating anger, me remembering what it felt like to be that lost. When I finally got up to leave, he spoke. My girlfriend has cancer. She's 19. What kind of God does that? I turned back, remembering Dad in that hospital bed, remembering Emma's tiny coffin, remembering all the rage I'd carried for so long. I don't know, I said honestly, but I know you're not alone in asking. He nodded, eyes wet, and I left him there, in the back pew of that chapel, having his own wrestling match with the Almighty, because sometimes that's what faith looks like. Not peaceful certainty, but a knockdown, drag-out fight that somehow ends with you collapsed in the arms of the one you were fighting. Funny thing is, I think he prefers it that way. The real fights, the honest ones, better than polite distance, better than pretending he doesn't exist. These days, I still ask the hard questions, still get angry sometimes, but now I know that faith isn't the absence of doubt. It's choosing to believe in the middle of it, choosing to trust that somehow, in ways I can't see or understand, love is writing a story bigger than my pain. They say God works in mysterious ways. I used to hate that phrase, thought it was just another cop-out. But now I think mystery might be the point. If I could understand it all, if I could wrap my mind around the why of suffering and loss and pain, would I really need faith? Would I really need God? The truth is, I don't have a neat and tidy testimony. I can't point to the exact moment I accepted Jesus into my heart, or whatever. It was messier than that, more like a slow surrender, a gradual laying down of arms in a war I was tired of fighting. But here's what I do know. That 15-year-old kid who thought he was so smart, who had God all figured out as a fairy tale for weak people. He was scared that if God was real, then Emma's death meant something. That Dad's cancer wasn't just a random cellular mutation, that all this pain might actually have a purpose. And that's terrifying, because purpose means responsibility. Purpose means I can't just rage at the universe and call it a day. Purpose means I have to do something with this life, especially when it hurts. So yeah, I believe now. Not because I got all my questions answered, but because I finally realized I was asking the wrong questions. Not, why did this happen? But what now? Not, where were you? But where are you leading me? And every day, the answer gets a little clearer. Every act of kindness I see, every moment of beauty that breaks through the chaos, every time someone sits with another person in their pain, just like Mark sat with me, I see it. Evidence of something bigger, something better, something that looks an awful lot like love. My sister Emma? I'll see her again. I believe that now. My dad? He's probably up there building someone a deck, fixing what's broken, same as he always did. And me? I'm still here, still questioning, still wrestling, but no longer alone. And that's enough. More than enough. It's everything. To my viewers, I have not fully decided yet, but narrating stories like this may become a regular occurrence on this channel. As soon as I read this story, something told me that it needed to be narrated. Anyway, let me know in the comments below if you got anything from this story. I know that I did.